Have you ever noticed how quiet pain can be? How someone can sit across from you, smiling gently, nodding, listening, and yet inside, they're drowning in the effort of holding it all together? Maybe that person is you. Maybe you've spent years being the one who understands, who forgives, who smooths over every sharp edge so no one gets hurt. The one who carries peace like a burden. And yet, no one sees how heavy it has become. There comes a time in every sensitive soul's life when they can't keep pretending, when the smile begins to tremble, when the words "it's fine" start to sound like betrayal, not of others but of yourself. And when that moment arrives, it's not loud, it's quiet, terrifyingly quiet, like something inside you has finally given up on pleasing everyone else and has decided at last to protect you. You see, a soul that feels deeply was never meant to live half alive. But the world has a way of teaching sensitive hearts that love means sacrifice, that kindness means silence, that peace means disappearing. You start believing that being gentle means being invisible, and you do it so well you forget that you were ever supposed to be seen. But something shifts the day you stop running after people who never turned around. Something sacred awakens the moment you no longer apologize for needing rest or space or truth. You begin to reclaim what you gave away piece by piece until you realize that self-abandonment was never love. It was survival. In this video, we'll explore what happens when a sensitive soul stops pleasing everyone, when they finally stop shrinking to fit the rooms that were never built for their light. We'll talk about the quiet power that rises after years of overgiving and the strange freedom that comes when you no longer seek to be understood by those who never tried to listen. If you've ever felt too much, cared too deeply, or loved until it hurt, this is for you. You're not weak for feeling. You're not dramatic for needing. You're simply human, trying to remember that your heart was meant to belong to you first. So take a deep breath. Let yourself be still. If this message already touches something inside you, remember to stay till the end. And if you find comfort here, subscribe, so we can keep walking through this healing together. Because you don't have to go through this alone anymore. You were never meant to. There's a strange kind of exhaustion that only those who've spent their lives pleasing others can understand. It's not the kind of tiredness that sleep can cure. It's the kind that settles in your bones, quietly whispering, "You've been living for everyone but yourself." You start noticing it in small moments. When someone crosses a boundary, and instead of speaking up, you smile. When your body screams for rest, but you say yes anyway. When your heart aches, but you pretend it doesn't. Because you were taught somewhere, somehow, that love means tolerance, that peace means silence, that being good means disappearing. For years, you wear that mask so well it almost feels like skin, until one day, it cracks. Not from rage, but from the softest thing of all, exhaustion. You stop having the energy to explain yourself. You stop overthinking how your words might make others feel. You stop chasing the people who only love you when you're useful. And suddenly, the quiet that once felt lonely starts to feel like freedom. This is the moment Jung was pointing to, not in theory, but in spirit, when he said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. For a sensitive soul, this isn't a poetic idea, it's a fight for survival. Because pretending to be less than you are doesn't protect you, it poisons you. Every time you swallow your truth to keep someone else comfortable, a little piece of your soul goes silent. And one day, you wake up realizing you don't even know what you want anymore. But then something happens, something that feels like a breakdown but is really a breakthrough. You begin to feel your own feelings again. You notice that not everyone deserves access to your tenderness. You realize that kindness without boundaries isn't love, it's self-erasure. And you start choosing differently, not because you've become cold, but because you finally understand that your warmth is sacred. The people around you may not understand this change. They might call you distant, selfish, even ungrateful, but what they don't see is that you're no longer performing. You're no longer bending yourself into shapes that make others comfortable. You're simply returning to your original form, the one that existed before the world told you to shrink. You begin to say no, softly at first, then louder. You start declining invitations that drain you, ending conversations that bruise you, and walking away from dynamics that thrive on your silence. And with each no, something beautiful grows space. Space for stillness, for honesty, for self-respect. There's grief in this too. You'll miss the version of yourself who always tried, the one who believed that love could fix everything if only you gave enough. But you'll also begin to honor that person not with shame, but with gratitude, because they were doing their best to survive in a world that rewarded their compliance but never saw their pain. The truth is, when a sensitive soul stops pleasing everyone, they don't become harder. They become real. They become whole. The light that once dimmed itself for others begins to shine again, not to prove anything, but simply because it no longer knows how to hide. And maybe that's where real love begins, not in being everything for everyone, but in being fully yourself, even if it means losing some people along the way. Begins to glow from within, unapologetically. It doesn't need to be seen anymore. It simply exists, steady and warm, and that light changes everything. You start attracting people who value presence over performance, truth over perfection. Conversations become gentler, but truer. Relationships grow slower, but deeper. Because when you stop performing, the right ones finally see you. But the transformation isn't only external. Inside, something miraculous happens. The constant anxiety of being too much or not enough begins to fade. You no longer replay conversations in your head, worrying about whether you said the wrong thing or if someone misunderstood you. You no longer measure your worth by how smoothly everything goes or how happy everyone feels around you. You begin to breathe differently, fully, freely. You start to realize that peace isn't something you earn by managing everyone's emotions. Peace is what happens when you finally stop betraying your own. Of course, the silence that follows can be disorienting. There are nights when you'll miss the chaos, when you'll wonder if the stillness means you've lost something important. But you haven't lost anything real, you've only shed illusions. The illusion that your love needed to be proven. The illusion that harmony required self-sacrifice. The illusion that being kind meant never being angry, never being honest, never being human. You'll notice your body changing too. The tension in your shoulders eases. Your breath deepens. You begin to feel moments of lightness, tiny but undeniable, when you say no and the world doesn't end. When you speak your truth and realize the sky doesn't fall. When you rest and nothing shatters. This is what healing looks like in real time, ordinary, subtle, and breathtaking. Slowly, the energy that used to go into fixing others returns home. You start nurturing your own dreams again, reading the books that once made you feel alive, walking in silence without the need to be needed. Your laughter, once filtered, becomes louder. Your tears, once hidden, become sacred. You start living with a kind of honesty that scares people who are still pretending, and that's okay. You no longer need everyone to stay. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to please everyone, you become easier to love, not because you're trying harder, but because you're real. People feel it. They can sense when you're no longer performing. There's a calmness in you, a grounded warmth that comes from knowing your worth doesn't depend on how others perceive you. You radiate peace, not because life is perfect, but because you've stopped fighting yourself. The sensitive soul who once thought boundaries meant rejection now learns that boundaries are devotion to your own aliveness, your own truth. And with time, you'll see that you were never meant to be the healer for everyone. You were meant to be whole. You were meant to belong to yourself first. Peace isn't something you have to create by holding everything together. Peace begins to live in you when you stop fighting yourself. You start realizing that your gentleness was never the problem, it was your constant need to prove it. That your empathy wasn't a weakness, it was your unguarded offering to those who didn't know how to hold it. And the day you stop proving, stop offering without return, stop fixing, is the day you begin to heal. Healing doesn't look like becoming indifferent. It looks like learning when to walk away with love still in your heart. It looks like smiling at someone's chaos and knowing it's not your responsibility to clean it up. It's the soft power of saying, "I wish you well, but I choose me now." For the first time, your heart feels light not because you've pleased everyone, but because you've stopped betraying yourself. And yet, there will be moments when doubt visits again. Old habits will whisper, "Maybe you were too harsh. Maybe you should apologize." But you'll learn to breathe through it. You'll remind yourself that peace isn't guiltless, it's honest. And honesty sometimes hurts people who benefited from your silence. There will be days when loneliness lingers, when you miss the comfort of being needed, even if it drained you. But that ache, that hollow space, is just the sound of your soul expanding. It's making room for something real. Soon, you'll notice how life starts meeting you differently. You'll meet friends who speak the same language of care without self-erasure. You'll experience love that doesn't require you to shrink to fit inside it. You'll find joy in small, quiet moments, the morning light on your skin, the sound of rain, without the need to explain your sadness. You'll look back one day and realize that the people who couldn't handle your boundaries were never meant to stay. They were chapters, not endings. And every ending, no matter how painful, will have led you closer to the person you were always meant to become, the one who is no longer defined by how much they're loved, but by how deeply they love themselves. So, when a sensitive soul stops pleasing everyone, they don't lose their softness. They simply learn to direct it wisely, like sunlight through a window, warm but focused. They become the guardian of their own heart, not its gatekeeper. And perhaps that's the most powerful thing of all, realizing that you don't have to fight to be enough anymore. You already are. Just by being here, breathing, choosing yourself again and again, that's the revolution. If this message reached something deep inside you, take a moment to let it rest. Reflect. Feel what's stirring within. And if you want to keep walking this path of healing and awakening together, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs it. And let's remind the world that gentleness, when it belongs to itself, is strength beyond measure.